All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continue our retro pay-per-view review series. This is going to be NWA Starrcade 1987 Chi-Town Heat. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into it now. I don't know about you, but something was off about this. Now, you watched the first four Starcades,
Well,
and there felt like there was a certain ambiance to it, a
they were in the
certain
South. They were in the South. This
well, I'm
now
talking
they're in
about them
Chicago.
in general.
Oh, okay.
Well, not the
Because I'm
not the
just saying.
crowd,
Okay.
but just the way that they showed the event itself, how they were, it just felt like there was, a high energy where I watched this and it's just like, yeah, we threw this together. Hope you enjoy it. It just felt like it was like here, like there was no even Tony and Ross were like,
They mailed it in.
yeah, yeah, let's go to the ring. Like they weren't excited for the biggest card of the year for them.
I mean,
And I love how they said there's no seats available, but you clearly can see
you could
the
see.
camera and there's like two rows empty, but they're trying to
It's
sell it,
kayfabe.
and
It's kayfabe.
yeah, and not to mention that this is also on the same night as Survivor
Yeah,
Series.
where Vince pulled a screw job on them, and he threatened the cable companies that if they carried this pay-per-view that he wouldn't give them WrestleMania 4.
Oh my God! So
Damn bad.
good old Vince. Let's get into it. Yeah, Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross doing the Starcade. This is the fifth installment of the end of the year classic for them. November 26, 1987, from Chicago, Illinois. Roughly 8,000 on hand for this one.
They
And
quick note. They had just bought the UWF around this time, so
yes,
they had merged, and unfortunately for them, the UWF doesn't. That purchase ends up pretty much bankrupting them.
yes, it did.
That's pretty this and the UWF purchase pretty much the end of Jim Crockett Promotions because, as we
Hmm.
know, later on, Turner comes in and saves the day.
Yeah. And considering the champions they had here, they could have kept the product. I guess they thought,
They wanted to expand. They got the UWF because they figured they.
unfortunately, wrong one,
I
wrong
un-
expansion. Yeah.
I understand the logic behind it though. Vince is expanding. He's buying everybody out. I get
So
it.
they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, this just was a crap purchase. But, to each their own. But yeah, before this, they were making money hand over fist. However,
It was
their
spending.
their financial problems exceeded far before this. Like I've said this in other episodes, and it was in a few documentaries. If they had a show in Vegas, they were flying out of Los Angeles 2-3 times a day to do the show, rather than conserve the money and build up the company. They were just blowing it like high school kids, unfortunately. So, but yeah, this was the last straw for Jim Crockett, and unfortunately, they couldn't survive much more after this. So yeah, then can
Yeah.
come Ted Turner. So and like you said in the beginning, they're not down south, and the crowd played a role in this as like not being into it a whole lot.
Yeah, they were. It was interesting.
Unfortunately, they were into the first match. However, I think the outcome is what kind of took the breath out of them, because they probably felt like me, like I can't believe you did a time limit draw. And in a matchup where you had so much talent in it, how we did not have a clear victor is beyond me. You had Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin, and Sting
Yeah.
versus Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, and Rick Steiner.
And Sting had just got there from UWF. He had only been there a month or two,
Yeah, it
something
was a
like that.
short time. Yeah,
Very short time. Rick Steiner, I believe, and Sting, I think they were teammates, I think, in UWF, if I'm not mistaken. They did work
yeah, I believe
together.
so.
Yeah.
So that they just got there not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
long ago, and great acquisition. Obviously, we know for
Oh yeah.
both men to be there. And you have the makings of the Freebirds here, not quite yet, but you have the makings of it with these two guys there. But the crowd was really into this match, and so was I. Now, as many times as they kept saying, "Oh, 5 minutes gone by, this amount of times left," you kind of had a sense that, okay, either this is going to end at the right before the time expires, or we're looking at a time limit draw here. And unfortunately, a time limit draw is exactly what we got. And right before the time limit expires, Michael Hayes hit a bulldog on Larry Zbyszko. Didn't get the pinfall because Zbyszko got his foot on the rope. However, Michael Hayes thought he had won the match. As the time expired, Hayes tried a sunset flip pin on Gilbert, but he didn't get the pin, and the time limit expired, and the whole match ended in a draw.
Damn it.
Not to mention, when he had the sunset flip pin, the referee was counting extremely slow so that bell would ring for the time to expire. So it was a 15-minute time limit. These guys, for this kind of match, you needed at least 20, 30 minutes for this match. But unfortunately, we didn't get a clean victor. And this is what I think the crowd took the breath out of the crowd, because they really weren't in it a whole lot, at least not until the main when the main event came around.
Well, they were in. We'll get to the Road Warriors match. They were into that match. It's just that the outcome isn't what Chicago.
Yeah, expected. The execution was not what they wanted.
We'll get into it.
The next match on the card was for the Universal Wrestling Federation title, the UWF title. Dr. Death Steve Williams defending the title against Barry Windham.
Is this unification? Unification?
No. That was the TV title.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, my mistake.
Yeah, they did a unification on that. But no, this was a straight up title match for Williams and Windham. And again, this wasn't a match I was into. You and I both said we're not Dr. Death fans.
It's like babyface versus babyface. I think both of them.
In this one, yes.
Yeah, they were trying to play it up too. Like they shook hands and stuff, right? Like they weren't.
Yeah, but when the bell rings, it's all business, and the longer the match goes, the more intense it's going to get. Where the friendship could be thrown out the window. And I mean, the match wasn't bad. I'm not going to crap all over the match. It was a decent match. Windham tried a cross body drop, but missed and went over the top rope. That was what kind of turned the tide in the match, because when Windham got back in the ring, Williams rolled him up in a small package, and that's how he got the victory over Windham. So I thought the ending was a little cheesy, but they played off the fact that Windham supposedly got hurt doing that maneuver, and so when he got back in the ring, he couldn't kick out of the 3 count. So Steve Williams keeps the title for however much longer it's going to last. So, and the one thing about this card is they really didn't do any interviews in this too, which also kind of baffled me, because that's pretty much what they were known for.
It's either too many interviews or no interviews.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like they just gave you this and said, "Here, enjoy. We'll come back in a little while to check on you."
They probably realized nobody was watching because of Survivor Series.
Unfortunately, and it wasn't a bad card.
No,
the main event to me was a little weak. I'll get to that later, but I mean, considering this card to Starrcade's past, this really wasn't that bad of a card on paper. And of course, you had Dusty Rhodes in another pivotal title match, if I can get the words out. Next match on the card was a Skywalker's match. If Jim Cornette didn't learn his lesson yet, only this time he didn't go up. The Rock and Roll Express in a non-title match versus the U.S. Tag Champions, the Midnight Express. And, of course, Big Bubba Rogers at ringside with Cornette. And, of course, the stipulation in the match is you have to throw both your opponents off the scaffolding, which obviously you're not literally going to get them thrown off. They're going to hang from the bottom of it and then drop down, which kind of takes out the excitement of seeing some type of hardcore in this type of match. But I know you don't want to kill your wrestlers throwing them from 25 feet up. They're not Mick Foley. So it was fun as the wrestlers were making their way up. Midnight Express tried to get the upper hand as Big Bubba Rogers hit the Bubba Spike, his finishing move that he brought to WWE, on Ricky Morton. So the match started as a handicap match up top as they were beating down Robert Gibson. Eventually, Morton would make his way up there. Matter of fact, he stole Cornette's tennis racket and brought it up there and proceeded to beat the hell out of the Midnight Express with it. Morton threw Stan Lane off first. I say threw him off. He kind of drop kicked him as he was hanging from the bottom of the scaffolding. And then, of course, Gibson then got eaten off and the Rock and Roll Express win. Why this wasn't a tag team title match, I don't know. I think it would have made it more interesting if the titles were up during this match. However, they weren't, so it kind of took away a little bit. After the match, of course, Cornette, realizing what happened to himself a year ago going up on that scaffolding, didn't do it this time. He sends Big Bubba Rogers up, and, of course, he has the racket. But then eventually he strips himself. He just wants to go one-on-one with Ricky Morton. Morton low blows Bubba and then got the hell out of there. I'm not fighting this big 300-pound guy up here. No way in hell. So the next was a very rare interview of the night. Bob Caudle interviewed Jimmy Garvin. Supposed to be Michael Hayes as well, but he couldn't get in a word because Jimmy Garvin wouldn't shut the hell up.
He went to business.
Oh my God. Talking about his match and then all the title matches and his brother later on in the main event.
Yeah, you gotta cut him some slack, man. This is his moment, you know.
Yeah, well, not saying much because it wasn't much of a moment. No,
doesn't last very long, but.
And I love when he says, "I know you're probably running out of time and you have to take the mic away from me," but he continues to talk. So Michael Hayes didn't get any interview time. Jimmy ran it all. You know, and again, kept talking about how his brother
Garvin, man.
Beat Ric Flair.
I've told you so. I like Garvin.
Jimmy Garvin? Yeah. I like the Fabulous Freebirds. So when the two of them got together, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and then how pretty much Jimmy Garvin was a huge fan favorite until he turned, and it completely pissed everybody off. And not to mention, this is also the first Starrcade we don't have the Boogie Woogie Man on it. I was a little upset about that. No Jimmy Valiant on this one.
Man, yeah.
Man, I got upset by that one. I loved watching him. So, and then of course after that, Caudle had interviewed Dr. That Steve Williams about his victory over Barry Windham. So, next on the card, it was a unification match for the NWA and UWF television titles. NWA television champion Nikita Koloff versus the UWF television champion Terry Taylor.
Nikita goes
not getting any better for Terry Taylor.
Nikita goes from the main event
to a mid-card television title match
versus Terry Taylor
in a year's time.
Oh Jesus!
I know. And again, I'll get to the main event in a little bit, but this is like a slap in the face to him almost.
Yeah, this is actually like this is peak Terry Taylor, I think. Because it's
God, that's not saying much.
No, I'm saying like no, what I mean by that is that at this point, like you think he's kind of like on the way up, you know?
No,
and
no, he's rooster bound. So
it wasn't to be.
It wasn't meant to be. Unfortunately, he had the look, he had the mic skills. They just did not push him properly for whatever reason.
Bad
Who knows? His backstage politics. Could have brought on these bad gimmicks that they kept giving him. You know, tailor-made man. Where Vince got the idea that the Red Rooster was a good gimmick to give somebody, and then make him a heel, mind you, called the Red Rooster.
Because they said that he was cocky, so that.
That's more punishment than anything else, in my opinion. But whatever. What are you gonna do? But you had Eddie Gilbert in Terry Taylor's corner during this match. And this match was pretty good, but again, Nikita Koloff going from the main event picture 1 year ago to a mid-card title match. I'll say at least it was a title match, and not just throwing him a regular some jabroni that doesn't even work there, or would be bagging groceries in a few weeks. Facing Terry Taylor, yeah, I know. Facing Terry Taylor is at least somewhat credible. So, and of course, it didn't take long for Eddie Gilbert to get, involved in this match. He did it on several occasions. However, the last one would be the last straw for Koloff. When he got involved, Koloff grabbed Gilbert, brought him up on the apron. At that point, Taylor had collided with Gilbert, and that's when Koloff hit the Russian sickle, pinned Terry Taylor, and now he's the no questions asked, unified, undisputed television champion, as if there was going to be any question as far as the undisputed part of it. But he even made the comment later on, "I am the only television champion."
Great.
Well, this is true.
It's great.
Because WWE, for whatever reason, never brought that type of title into existence, which I always thought they should have.
There can be only one.
A television champion? Yeah. Oh, boy. So unfortunately, like I said, it's a step down for Koloff, but he's a champion. At least give him that. So next on the card was and I actually enjoyed this match because these were two of the biggest badass tag teams going at this time. For the NWA tag team titles, it was Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson defending the tag titles against the Road Warriors in their hometown. Yes,
Horsemen.
Horsemen.
And these guys were going for the titles for the first time because I think they only had the 6-man tag, right?
Yes.
Until that point.
Yeah, they had said that they were going after their first reign as tag champions. And of course, the crowd was behind them because Chicago-based Road Warriors, they're in Chicago.
Yeah, because it's storyline wise, that's where they're from. Yeah,
Yeah, even though
they were
Minnesota,
in Minnesota, whatever. I think they live.
all Minnesota boys.
I think they did live in Chicago for a little while, but whatever. Anyway, moving on.
They probably had to just to
Yeah.
make the story believable. But anyway, like I said, at this point in time, these are two of the biggest badass tag teams there are. Having them go at it, I mean, the match was great.
Physical
The
match.
ending, unfortunately, if you're trying to have somebody save face,
Well,
I don't.
You know who booked this ending. So go to the ending and we'll talk about it.
Same guy that booked his ending. Okay, but at least he was on top. Yeah, let's go to the ending. A stupid NWA rule.
Ref gets knocked out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Arn? Was it Arn that hit the ref? That knocked the ref down?
Yeah, but that wasn't the disqualification.
No,
the disqualification was
that I know. The ref gets knocked down, then he goes over the top, then Arn gets tossed over the top rope.
And Tommy Young happens to see it as he's down there. That Hawk tosses him over the top rope.
Doomsday device.
Earl Hebner came in. They got the Doomsday device on Anderson. Earl Hebner counts to 3.
Yep.
You believe they're the tag team champions, but Tommy Young says no, it's a disqualification. I saw him go over the top. This is always to me has
finish. Another dusty finish.
Well, the fact that they had this rule into effect to me was the stupidest thing ever.
No, I agree it's stupid, but what's dumber to me is the dusty finish.
Booking the end of that?
Yeah, you book, they win. Oh no, they really didn't win.
And that's not the first time they've done this.
No, and it's not the last time.
No, that's the last either, no.
That's why they call it the dusty finish, because he's the one that books this stuff. And Chicago, too, of all places. Chicago
exactly.
Should have won over.
They should have been the tag champions at Starrcade.
I mean, come on.
But instead, it ends in a ridiculous over-the-top rope disqualification, and Ole and Arn Anderson are still the tag team champions. And of course, J.J. Dillon is ecstatic. I'm not, because I thought that rule is just ridiculous. So, following that, Bob Caudle interviewed Nikita Koloff. If you could understand him, what he was saying, he pretty much, like you said, there could be only one. He goes, I am. There's no other television champion but me. All right, congratulations. Tell him you want to go back for the world title. You belong in the main event status, not doing this. They interviewed J.J. Dillon. He's high as can be right now because the Four Horsemen, Ole and Arn Anderson, is still the tag champions. He's confident about Ric Flair later on. So, and then of course he's confident Lex Luger will take care of Dusty Rhodes. Which, speaking of the next match, it's for the NWA United States title. Naturally, he would book himself in the one match for the title of which he's never held, and no discrepancy as far as the winner goes. Interesting about that. Now, it was in a steel cage. Now, the special stipulation was if Dusty didn't win, he pretty much, his career was on the line, but it was only for 90 days.
This happened to me.
So how is your career on the line?
Remember, later on, he loses like a retirement match, and he comes back as, forget the character's name. He comes back as.
You gotta love these career-ending matches. They never hold. But this is not a really career-ending match. Like I said, it's only a 3 month, 3 months away where he can't do any wrestling whatsoever. So
Luger, I couldn't believe Luger got him up, man, for the torture rack. He actually.
I know. Luger was always, to me, in the 80s, was very impressive.
Yeah.
Still was in WCW and WWE.
Yeah.
But of course, it shocked me that Lex Luger lost the title to Dusty Rhodes. But of course, Dusty booked it, and he booked himself the one title that he's never won, and no discrepancy whatsoever as far as the finish goes. Now, Johnny Weaver was holding the key to the cage. Naturally, J.J. Dillon takes out Johnny Weaver, gets the key, figures, all right, I'm not going to open it, throws a chair into the ring. Now, the referee sorted it down, but again, there's no disqualification here, so I don't understand why they're trying to do it behind the referee's back. Even when the referee was counting a chokehold in the cage, Tony Schiavone said, well, I don't know why he's counting. Well, we've said this before.
That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. He throws the chair into the over the cage, barely makes it, mind you. Dusty gets the upper hand, DDTs Luger on the chair and gets the pin, and Dusty Rhodes is the new NWA United States champion.
Congratulations, Dusty.
Congratulations, Dusty. Couldn't book yourself a couple of world title matches before this, but whatever. We'll be here all night if we talk about Dusty's bookings. So now on to the main event. Another steel cage match. This is for the NWA title. Ron Garvin defending the title against Nature Boy Ric Flair.
He had just beat Flair in a couple months before this, whatever it was. I think it was a couple months. I think like 2 months, I think I'm going to say.
Well, you're
an
a
upset.
Garvin fan.
Yeah, and an upset. And an upset at the time.
Yes. I thought this main event was very weak. Very weak. Mainly because I'm not a Ronnie Garvin fan.
They had better matches.
Yeah.
What I did like is that they worked very stiff with each other. It looked real to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it wasn't real, obviously, but
especially the chops.
It looked like they were really like landing, you know. And Garvin was believable, man. They call him the Hands of Stone. Garvin was believable.
Well, I believe that
he was a believable badass. I've said this before. I was a big rugged Ronnie Garvin fan. You know, because I didn't get to see much of him in the NWA. Unfortunately, I was watching WWF.
Unfortunately, but the WWF when they got him didn't really do anything with him.
Yeah, his claim to fame.
Some stupid nonsense with Greg Valentine.
That was his claim to fame over there. But
yeah, exactly.
Either way, I was happy to see him as champion here, even though it was only briefly.
I just couldn't see it at Starrcade. That's all. This is their WrestleMania, their granddaddy of them all, and I mean, and Garvin, the fans are booing Garvin, cheering Flair.
They did boo him. Yeah,
I didn't understand that.
He was the babyface.
Exactly.
I guess because it's Chicago. Chicago's like Detroit. They don't care.
Or because it's Ric Flair.
Well, that's who.
Heel or babyface, they're going to cheer the horse.
Flair said he enjoyed working with him, and Flair said that the reason why they took the belt off him, he wasn't drawing, but he said that it wasn't his fault. He said that in the South, Garvin was over and he was drawing, but for whatever reason, in the other territories, whatever you want to call them, it just wasn't working.
Well, this time there was still some of the territories were still standing.
But he said, or I shouldn't say territories, other areas like Chicago, for example.
Yeah.
You know, he said, but he said he liked working with him. So,
well, I mean, besides to me being that the match, as far as me look, the two of them go for Starrcade was weak. The ending was even more. I guess it fit the night, it fit the match, it fit it fit everything because Flair held him up, looked like he was going to hit him like with a stun gun on the rope, but the momentum brought him back into the cage where Garvin hits his head. Flair falls on top of him and gets the pin.
That's it.
No figure four, which he tried earlier and was unsuccessful. He just wins it that way, and I guess it, like I said, it fits the demeanor of the whole night. It was a lackluster finish to a lackluster match. Yeah, that was it for him. Pretty soon he was WWF on the move, and again they didn't do anything with him.
But he's a former NWA champion.
Yes, he is. So. Yeah, he goes down as former NWA champion, but our boy Rick Rude can't get his acknowledgement.
Well, in our eyes, he is.
Maybe if we get enough people. Yeah.
International champion be damned. He's a former WCW champion.
Thank you. Maybe we can get enough people to change their outlook on it. Maybe
just the powers that
be will
just start a petition, man.
Take this to my boy Triple H. Maybe they can change it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't get too sidetracked, but
hey, he's in charge.
The event was okay. This was all right. It wasn't the worst.
No, I mean I don't know how to really figure out which one's bad and which one's not. But as far as the ones we've seen, this was like I used the word before. It was a little lackluster.
Talent was there
from the other ones. Yeah, the talent was there. It just felt like I said. Oh, here's the event. Here you go.
The storylines leading up to this were actually really good. But for whatever reason,
the execution of the whole night it wasn't there. It didn't feel like the ambiance, like everything they've done from '83 to '86 that we've seen, the excitement, the pageantry or whatever. It just didn't feel like it was there tonight.
I agree. All right, well, that's our review. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.